think we are now live. Good afternoon, everyone. Sophia Towns, Low Country Autism Foundation. Welcome to another edition of our community conversations. Today, we're going to talk about a very important topic, and that is visiting the emergency room, in particular at MUSC in Charleston, when your loved one with autism is a danger to oneself or others. And then we'll also touch base on some helpful things that we can do just in general when our loved one needs to go to the ER when they're sick. Our special guest today is our new LAF staff member, Kaylee King. We are so excited to have Kaylee with us. Kaylee joined our team about a month ago, and Kaylee is just awesome, and we're so proud to have her. She is actually our program coordinator for the Charleston area. So Kaylee, we are so excited to have you. And if you would tell our viewers your background and why you became a part of LAF.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. So my name is Kaylee King, and I am the Charleston Program Coordinator for LAF. Like Sophia said, I've been here about a month, and I absolutely love it. It's been a great experience. A little bit about myself, though, is I majored in rehabilitation services at East Carolina, in North Carolina, and graduated in 2016. And then I went on to get my master's in counseling. And through all of that, I kind of volunteered and started working with children with autism as a community coordinator. I did some one-on-one work, did some behavioral assistant work, and I really just fell in love with children with autism, and they brought so much joy. So eventually I decided wanted to pursue that, and I ended up going to nursing school and graduated from nursing school in May 2020 in the pandemic. And then my husband and I decided to move to Charleston. And when we moved to Charleston, I got a job at MUSC in the emergency room, but I was specifically in the D-Pod. The D-Pod is for psychiatric population, and I soon realized how fast, within almost a month of being there, I started in the summer. So I think between COVID and school being out, we had a lot of people with autism coming through the ED, and it really opened up my eyes. And I was like, wow, I can finally tie this together, like something that I'm super passionate about, people with psychiatric disorders and then autism. So I was so excited to finally put those two together. And I was able to write a grant for MUSC because I realized how many of the staff members aren't fully equipped and trained on working with people with autism. And that's super important and valuable, especially in these emergent situations. So I was able to do that. And then I ended up finding about LAF through all that when I wrote the grant. And then I got a job at LAF too. So it's awesome.
Yay. We're so excited you're here. So Kaylee has a great background, and we are just so excited to have her be a part of our team. So with Kaylee's experience in the emergency room and having that experience of dealing with individuals with autism in the ER, I thought it would be an excellent topic to talk about what can we expect as a parent, as a caregiver, when we end up having to take our loved one with autism to the ER, especially when we believe that they are a threat. They are a danger to themselves. They are a danger to others. They are engaging in a very dangerous behavior. And so, you know, thank God so far I haven't had to do that, but I know people who have had to do that. And so Kaylee's going to kind of walk us through the steps. What can we expect when we show up? And I'm going to turn it over to you, Kaylee. And then guys, I am watching the questions in the comment section. Please feel free to join us and post any comments, questions, and we will get those answered for you. Okay. All right, Kaylee. I have my, let's just say hypothetically, I have my 13-year-old son with me, and I strongly believe that he is a threat to himself. We are pulling up to MUSC to the ER. What happens? What do we need to do?
So pulling up to ED, regardless if you have autism or not, it's scary and overwhelming. It's naturally a chaotic place, but it's very organized chaos, but it is overstimulating for somebody that is neurotypical or not. Very overstimulating. There are days that I'm at work and get overstimulated by many different things. So like I said, when I worked specifically in the D-pod, so the D-pod is after you already are medically cleared, and that's when you are up for a psychiatric evaluation. So when you first come to the ED, you're gonna go in like you normally do, you get checked in. One of the tips that throughout this, I'll say some things, and then at the end we can talk about different other tips, but I think to start out with, I think that it's important if you have the time and you have the means to maybe call the local ED that you're going to and maybe tell them, hey, we're coming. You know, my loved one has autism. This is what's going on. So they kind of are heads up. So they know, oh, we have this room cleared. Let's kind of triage this a little different before they even get there. I think that's important too. And that's been beneficial too when I was working. But you go, get checked in. Sometimes you do have to wait, which is unfortunate. And then you go to, at MUSC is what it's called the B-pod. And the B-pod is where you get medically cleared, kind of give your whole what's going on. And then at that point, they say, okay, they might run some labs, some tests, everything's good. They're gonna go to the D-pod now. Sophie and I kind of talked about this a few weeks ago of how the D-pod is right now because of COVID. They don't allow any visitors. And that is something that is an issue that kind of arises when you've been with your loved one the whole time and then it's time for them to go to the D-pod. That is where they have to get dressed out into paper scrubs. That is where all electronics go away. It is a locked unit, and their loved one, due to COVID, can't come back there with them. And a lot of times, it's a teaching hospital, there's residents. For a while, sometimes you're back there and can be hours before the psychiatric team comes out and sees you. And a lot of times parents are like, how long is it going to be? And it's hard to tell. And they say, well, do I wait out here? And it's just COVID kind of throws like a kink into things, trying to figure out how to do that. But Sophie and I are going to share some helpful tips at the end, almost like a cheat sheet kind of thing. But so from there, after they wait, they get evaluated by the psychiatry team. There's one of three things that usually happen. Either one, they get discharged home. Two, resources for placement. There's always a social worker. There's a great team of social workers at MUSC. They come out, they also talk to the parents or to whoever the caregiver is and tell them. And then three is the Institute of Psychiatry. So you can be admitted to the Institute of Psychiatry. A lot of times people with autism that come in, it's either for physical aggression, it's for disruptive behavior, sometimes it's medication changes, elopement and running away from home. We've had a lot of times families will move and it's that new environment. And then the last one is, like you said, a danger to themselves or others. Regardless if you have autism or not, or if your loved one, if they're ever making any type of threats, suicidal or homicidal, it is vital that you take them to the ED and communicate that with the providers there. And that's the best place to go at that time. So to always be upfront about that if they're ever making those statements about themselves or wanting to harm others. Because safety is always the number one priority in these situations for sure. So yeah, we talked a little about this, Sophie and I, just off and on, like just all those things when coming into the D-pod and how that can be overstimulating, like the paper scrubs and not having, if an iPad or something is a comfort item, and then not being able to have that. There's things that I think is important to be aware of. So then when those situations do arise, you're a little bit better equipped to handle them.
Oh man, I just listening to that, I'm getting a little anxious just thinking of just trying to visualize one of my boys. So I have three boys, two of them are autistic. And just to imagine if I ever had to take one of the boys to the ER, just the fact that He has to put on paper scrubs. Jack loves everything long sleeve. It's comforting to him. Long sleeves, long pants. He calls them soft pants, almost like a jogging pant, a little track pant, even if it's 110 degrees outside. I can't even imagine him changing into that. I really can't imagine them taking away the iPad, which I respect it. I'm not questioning the doctors here. I'm just saying, as a parent, I'm talking just from mama right now. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So how does the team handle that? Like, how are they going to handle that? That is just, I just have this vision of, all right, I'm not there, or dad's not there. He's with these strangers, and now you've taken his iPad. He's putting on paper scrubs. Is there anything entertaining back there they get? Or, like, I just imagine meltdown city back behind those doors. What is it like? I mean,
sometimes it can be meltdown city, but I think that the things that have prevented those from happening, not saying there's, because people that are back there, they do have other situations, so we always want to respect their safety and their privacy, which is a reason why we don't have any electronics. But also just being upfront, I think, to whoever the provider is at the beginning. It's like, okay, well, the iPad doesn't work, but he likes, the popper toys, and like that, they cannot harm themselves or anybody else with. Most likely cannot do that. Everybody can get a little crafty, but I think that we would be okay there. And this, I think another important thing is there are exceptions that are made from time to time, but it's one of those things, oh, I know that they will have to put on paper scrubs, so I'm not going to send them, there with drawstring pants and things that, could potentially be used to hurt themselves or somebody else. So almost like taking in there and something that sounds like normally wear, just a regular long sleeve shirt. And I mean, the providers, they're excellent, like, to make those accommodations. But I think just to have that in your mind to know, okay, this might be a thing. Let me just go ahead and put them in this just in case. And I mean, sometimes I won't change. We've had children, I won't change into the shirt, but I'll change into the pants for you. And, obviously working with them and making it work. And then another thing that's been awful too is the COVID swabs. Like, also all this is happening, and then we got to do a quick little COVID test on you. Like, that is just, any type of medical procedure isn't funny, but, being aware of those things, and hopefully all those things go away within time. But, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is when we've had parents being upfront about, these are the things that upset them. These are what makes things better, and having those. And like I said, there's a lot going on back there. They're being transferred from one unit to the other. There's different nurses, providers. So we were talking almost about having like a sheet when they come in, because it's like, oh, I told one nurse that that's what worked, and then, but how did she know? Why didn't she know that? So almost having something that gets transferred along with them, a sheet that says diagnosis, medications, these are the things that sensory issues, and just because it helps all of us back there be able to handle the situation better, and just knowing how to work with them. And I will say that all the healthcare professionals at MUSC do have to go through a 2-day mandatory training that is based on de-escalation for anybody in crisis, and also how to handle somebody if they're physically aggressive, to make sure that we are keeping everybody involved safe. So I think that that's also something to note, that these people are truly do care so much about everybody back there, and we want to keep everybody safe. Another thing that I found alarming when I was, not alarming, but just interesting when I was doing some research, is that I think it said 1 in 4 children, or a person any age, mostly teens though, between that 15 to 18 age range, they're 70% more likely to go to the ED. And also 1 in 4 of those children get restrained, either chemically with a medication or physically. And a lot of times they were saying that And I know from my work that not that doesn't have to happen all the time, but I think but having just knowing what to look out for and having a better equipped staff and people that know about autism and spreading that awareness so we can all handle these situations better.
Definitely. I think let's go into a little more detail about the cheat sheet, because I think that is an amazing idea. I think the cheat sheet, the individual doesn't necessarily have to be in a psychiatric emergency. I think just, my kid is sick and I have to go to the ER. I think that would just be amazing for so many parents. So let's maybe walk through what the cheat sheet should be, and maybe some things that we need to make sure that we include on that. Because I know as soon as I finish, guess what I'm doing? I'm going to make a little cheat sheet, one for Jack, one for Joseph. So, yeah.
So these are just some things that I kind of would think that were important, and I think that add on and whatever you think is important. But obviously that contact information for the parents or caregivers, because like I said, when they go back there sometimes and you're not there, they like to call to get information. We want to make sure we have everything accurate, even if it's not. Obviously the medical chart will have those things, but just to kind of have that. And like I said, some parents say we're going to sit right out here and wait. So just, the best number to reach at any time. Also medications. A lot of times, like I said, that we have people come in because of a recent medication change. So making sure all those medications are on there, as well as allergies, because medications blurb to put, I know in the past, X does not work. X will actually, we've tried this before. So just so you know, and that this will not work, or this does not effectively calm down my child. Another thing is the diagnosis. Sometimes we have comorbidity, so trying to put all that on the cheat sheet as well. And then also I think is super important, because we see these children in such an acute situation, that what is their baseline? Sometimes when we see them, they're completely nonverbal, and then a few days later we're like, wow, we didn't even know this person did have some language. We had no idea. So what is that? What does baseline look like for that person? How does that person function? What kind of ADLs can that person do? I think another important thing is triggers. What are some things that are overstimulating? What upset? And then along with that, what helps them in those situations? What calms them down? What's the best response to pain? How do I know this person is in pain? What's the best way? I mean, not getting too elaborate, just being like, this person, my child does not tell me when they're in pain. They, grab their foot and start scratching, pinching down on their skin. That's how I know they're in pain. Then different preferred activities. This person loves SpongeBob. Okay, I can't give you an iPad, but I can put SpongeBob on, on the TV, or I could roll up one of the computers. We can put that on, And then also transitions. It's a lot going on. We want to make sure that whatever we can do to best help you, we're doing it. So what do those transitions look like? And then I think another one important is is there any sensory issues? And if so, what are they, and what can we do to help?
Okay, so guys, we have homework. I think we all need, after this, we all need to go ahead and type out a cheat sheet. So let's recap here. So obviously, kid's name, parent's name, or caregivers, the best phone number, medication lists, and medications that perhaps the individual has had in the past, but they had a bad reaction to it, or it just didn't work. So kind of a history there also. Triggers. What is going to make the child upset? What is going to upset that person? What makes that person happy or calm? Like I said, Kaylee just mentioned, maybe SpongeBob. Maybe they love SpongeBob SquarePants. They can't have the electronics, but maybe they can put SpongeBob up on the TV for them. I know my boys trains. So anything train related. What else? What am I missing on that cheat sheet?
Let's see. Any sensory issues?
Sensory. Yeah, sensory, definitely. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. So definitely, let's all go home, guys, and let's do our cheat sheets. We have homework. Awesome. That's so helpful. So once they get back to, so they've gone through B pod, they've got medical clearance, they don't have COVID, they're in D pod now. So once they're in D pod, what exactly are they being evaluated? Tell me, kind of give us an idea of what's going on.
So usually a resident will come and do an initial evaluation. That's when they talk to the individual, see what's going on. And if they're able to provide that information, great. If not, then what they'll do is they'll go back to their office, and that's when they will call those loved ones and that information, and they'll say, okay, I just laid eyes on this person. They didn't really tell me much. They do look a little like agitated though. Can you tell me what's been going on at home? And that's kind of where we get like the meat of the situation. Like, this person, we do not even feel safe in our house. This individual is just really upset with us. We feel like, we don't feel safe and we don't know what to do. And a lot of times, you don't always get admitted to the hospital, but I think there is when their social workers come in and we say, okay, well, X isn't, this isn't working. So what will work, and what are some resources out in the community? Luckily, that LAF does a great job of providing a lot of resources, but obviously sometimes there's new ones or there's things that are new. One of the ones that I think is great is Charleston Mental Health. Charleston Crisis Center, having that mobile assessment to, I think a reason why so many people come to the ED in these situations too is because it's hard to get an appointment. It's hard you see these signs for a period of time, but you don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden it escalates. And then what do you do from there? So I think finding those resources like Charleston Center, Charleston Mental Health, where you can just walk in there during their daytime hours I think they do just walk-ins from 8 to 3. So then that's a totally different environment, but you're still getting the situation addressed. So kind of after that, they talk to the families, kind of can't come up with a game plan. Like I said, if they truly think, sometimes if they're like, well, you know what, there's a medication change, we can try that. Talk to their primary provider, and they'll stay sometimes in T-Pod for a number of days, sometimes like 24, 48 hours while they're doing a new medication, or just to kind of alleviate some things and make sure that everything is okay before they go back home. Even if they don't get admitted to the Institute of Psychiatry, they'll just stay in the D-Pod for a few days. Obviously, that's probably not the most therapeutic thing either, because it's still an ED. You're back in a little Bay Area in a recliner for a few days, so that is definitely some breeding ground for some behavior outbursts for sure. But like I said, whatever to do to keep them safe for everybody involved. Also, if they are admitted to the Institute of Psychiatry, in that case, a lot of times the Institute of Psychiatry is always full. So sometimes we have patients waiting for like 2 to 3 days before they have a bed available and before they can actually start treatment. So that's also another thing to consider. But obviously during those times we come to know the patients well, and so then we end up figuring out what works best, and that's where that cheat sheet will also come in handy too.
Definitely. Let's backtrack just a second on the mobile crisis units, guys. When I did community conversations, I want to say it was in March, maybe, but it's within the last few months. Go back, they're all on our Facebook page for LAF, for Low Country Autism Foundation. but I did a community conversations where we talked about the mobile crisis units, and every county that LAF serves, so basically the Low Country, coastal South Carolina, every county has a mobile crisis unit. So definitely you need to look into this. It's a wonderful resource, a great service. So because I do think you see a lot of people showing up to the ER, and maybe some of it could be, some of this could be curbed a little bit by calling the mobile crisis unit. But definitely, if you ever feel that your loved one is a threat to themselves, no, you need to just go on straight to the ER. But yeah, go look at that other video. It's very informative as well. Sorry, I just wanted to add that in there. So if they get into the Institute of Psychiatry, they're probably looking at, I guess everyone's different. Is it acute care? It's not long-term?
No, not long-term. Usually it's about, I would say, 5 to 10 days. And that also depends on if they are voluntary or if they are involuntary committed, which is then by the court. So then a probate judge has to be the one that discharges them ultimately or says it's okay. And those court dates vary by county. So usually they're Tuesdays and Thursdays, but that's the only time where it can be like prolonged, but not prolonged long term. I mean, I think the max would probably be like 14 days, but usually a voluntary person is around 3 to 7 days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And at that point, the rules are a little different. Loved ones are able, I think, visitation starting back up. So during specific hours can come. Also, the paper scrubs go away. You can have your loved ones bring you things that are safe. Those long sleeve shirts, no strings, anything like that. Slip-on shoes, all of that. But that helps. You always have a roommate. Sometimes in extreme situations, they make exceptions and you have a room to yourself. But like I said, there's always a good amount of wait list of people that go to the Institute of Psychiatry. So there are some challenges there too as well. But everybody there, I worked in the Institute of Psychiatry quite a bit, sometimes just from DPOD. So everybody over there is great, well equipped. Especially the second floor is the children's floor, so they get their well versed in autism, so they're great over there.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let us know. I see, oh, that's so sweet. Just some sweet comments being made here. But guys, if you do have any questions and we run out of time, please go ahead. We'll be checking the post regularly. So if you do have questions, we will get those answered for you. Kaylee, what else? Anything else you want to add?
I think just like the last few things is, like I said, if you do have the means, or if you're able to call your local ED before you're coming there to kind of give a heads up, that's definitely helpful. And then also to be aware in your community about mobile crisis, but different, like the Charleston Center, different things. It's like, so I know they're having an issue. My psychiatrist cannot get my child in for 2 months. And I know that this is escalating. I know that eventually we're going to have to go to the ED because this behavior is only going to ramp up. To know those places just that have walk-in hours in your community. And I think that is a good second step. Good step before the ED that can be a less overwhelming experience for your loved one.
Definitely. All right, guys. How are we on time here? Oh, right on time, 30 minutes. Pretty good, girl. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all we have for today. And Kaylee, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experience and giving us that helpful information. Guys, if you have any questions about this, or if you are struggling or need some help getting resources, please reach out to the LAF team. We are here for you guys. Make sure that you follow us on our social media to keep up to date on everything. But we will see you back here in about a month. And happy 4th, everyone. And y'all stay safe, and we'll see you guys soon. Okay? Bye, guys.